Captain Downriggins here. Today's video is going to be on salmon plugs, and I'm going to do a quick tip. There's a lot to talk about a salmon plug, but I want to give you just a couple real quick pointers on them. More specifically, we're going to talk about the atomic salmon plug. What I have showing on the screen right now are 5-inch plugs, and the first thing I want you to recognize with the salmon plug is that even though both of these are 5-inch plugs, one is a little bit wider than the other one. For instance, this one here is what they call the standard, and this one here is called the tubby. Now both plugs are going to react in the water a little differently. This one here is designed to troll upwards of about 6 knots, where the tubby is designed to troll about 2 to 4 knots. And the reason being they're different speeds is because there's more water going across the face of this plug, causing more of a reaction. So this is what we would refer to as a slow troller, meaning that you can troll this down at 2, 2.5, or 3 knots. Whereas the standard plug, you can really crank them up and go a lot faster. Now if you're fishing more than one downrigger, or you have a couple lines in the water and you have other gear, say flashers, what I would recommend is using the tubby model, because now you can match the speed more appropriately with your flashers or other gear. What I want to show you though is the 2 most common ways of rigging these. And first and foremost, you've probably seen this one, what they look like right in the package. It comes with a tow bar, a barrel swivel, and a Siwash hook. Now this plug will fish real nice right out of the package, but a couple things that we have to keep in mind when we rig the leader. The first thing that you want to do is you want to tie your knot right on top of the tow bar. Reason being is that this is going to force the plug to put the nose down a little bit more, creating more action in the water. The second thing you want to do is make sure that that knot stays perfectly centerline the entire time that you're fishing it. If you deviate and the knot rides over to one side, the plug is going to go to the opposite side and swim in that direction. So it doesn't give it a very natural appearance in the water. So when you tie your clinch knot, the first thing that you want to do is you want to run your line through the tow bar twice, and if you can see it, you'll want to cross the line first and then go ahead and tie your clinch knot. What I would recommend is maybe just a little drop of soapy water or something on there to really snug the knot down. What this does is create less friction on the line so you can get a nice tight knot. The other way is to remove the tow bar. And as you notice, there's 2 holes where the tow bar was. What you'll want to do is run your line through that top one. Again, that's going to get that plug nose down. Now I've already went ahead and tied a line just for example purposes, but you'll notice here that I've got a nice quality Siwash hook, a barrel swivel, and a bead. Now just my preference, and it's just personal preference only, but I remove all the tow bars on my plug. And the reason being is I want this plug to swim true in the water. And again, what I'm doing is alleviating this knot slipping from one side. So you're going to bring your line through the top hole and then go ahead and tie off your hook assembly here. But for video purposes only, what I'll do is I'll run it through so you can get an idea what it looks like. And it looks like this. Now a couple things about hooks. A general rule of thumb for your plugs is matching the size of the hook to the size of the plug. For instance, on a 5-inch plug, you'd run a 5/0 hook. I take this a step further and I run a 6 or a 7/0 hook on a 5-inch plug. Or even on a 4-inch plug, I'll run a 6/0 hook. The reason I do that is because I want a bigger gap area here, and I don't want the hook hanging up on the plug. What happens when your plug is traveling through the water, your hook is actually inverted in this direction. So as it's going through the water, a lot of times it's hitting this surface of the plug. And that's why you'll get the smiley faces on your plugs. The other thing I do is I like to bring the hook back a little bit, and usually to the point right here and a little further. The next thing I would do in that point is I take a toothpick and I jam that into the plug, and then I would go ahead and break it off. And we'll just kind of show you real quick what I do. As you can see, the toothpick is in the hole, and you just break it off. Unfortunately, that didn't work, so let's do it again. Go ahead and pinch it in there, and then break your toothpick off. You'll want to break it off flush with the plug. But what that does is that gets the hook further back and really opens up the pipe area on the plug. Now if your plug is swimming correctly in the water, notice how I pulled on the leader here, this is really going to open the bite area up on the plug. Okay, now to remove the tow bar, let me just go ahead and remove this knot here. What you'll want to do is invert your plug and take your wire cutters and come under here and go ahead and make 2 cuts on the tow bar. Now the tow bar is brass, so it should be pretty easy to cut. And then the next step is to look for any rough edges. You don't want rough edges because ultimately we're going to pull the tow bar this way, and we don't want to damage the holes that we're going to create. So come in with a file and remove any of those burrs that you have. And then you would take needle nose pliers and just come up. You'll want to grab firmly because a lot of times what will happen is these things they stick quite a bit. And then double check to make sure there's no other pieces on the back side. And this one is usually the bugger of the two to get out. And then as you can see, the holes on the front are nice and clean. The holes on the bottom are nice and clean. In addition to the plug running a little more true, what's nice about this is that if your leader breaks, or should I say your main line breaks from the fish is going to retain the hook in the mouth and your plug's going to float up to the surface. Well, there's a quick salmon plug tip for you. I've got some more coming online here in the days coming. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you on the water.